Welcome and good morning. Good morning and welcome. My name is Tim Traver. I will be your provider.
Service
right? Thank you. Service coordinator. And it's great to be here with you this morning. Every day in May is amazing, and even though it's raining out there, you've all turned up and turned out. It's great to be here together with you. I want to send out a special greeting and welcome to anyone who's listening online, and also to anybody who's here for the first time. Special welcome. Make sure you look at the back of the order of service. There's lots of good things going on here, and including pizza parties and meetings on the history of the church. And be sure to take a look at that. And remember to turn off your cell phones, an important thing to do. Back in the back of the church, we have some orders of service that are larger type, larger print. And we also have some microphones back there, all stuff you already know. After the service, there will be some coffee, tea, and refreshments downstairs. Hope you can join us. Thank you, members of the church who make that possible. What have I forgotten and missed here? I think we'll leave it at that for now. Our theme in May has been bridges. What a great UU theme. Bridges really, the idea of bridges really touches on everything we do here. How vital that we build bridges. And when you have a theme like that, everything connects and it's all cool. But sometimes it's hard, actually, to find what you're looking for to reflect on that theme. For me, I reached without thinking into our wedding ceremony. My wife and I have been married for 45 years as of yesterday. And we were reading our service. And here was something from Ralph Waldo Emerson that we put in there. All are needed by each one. Nothing is fair or good alone. And then, more recently, or going back a little bit, this quote from Pope Leo in his first address on Election Day, May 8th. He writes, "We must seek together a church that builds bridges, fosters dialogue, and is always open to welcoming everyone with open arms, just as this place welcomes all those who need our mercy, our presence, dialogue, and love." Now, each writer, each thinker there is, in their own way, speaking on the nature of the power of love.
came across a passage that I need to send to you, Michael, of Jacob Collier reharmonizing the melody for Like a Bridge Over Troubled Water. I listened to it and I cried watching TikTok. Good morning and good Sunday. I hope this new day finds you well. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. James Vila Blake, 1894. Many Unitarian Universalist churches across the country recite these words each week. This is, for many congregations, a statement of inclusiveness and belonging. Sometimes, though, in order to achieve this, we hide our disagreements with one another. Yet when we are grounded, honest, and kind, we can resolve our differences, wholly or in part. But we have to learn to speak them non-combatively. We have to learn somehow to build a bridge. Some bridges come at great cost. So the question becomes, are we willing to pay? In 1970, two dear loves sang a song about such a cost. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, and when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part when darkness comes and pain is all around. Like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down. Will we pay a cost for one another? Will we make the healthy sacrifice? It's a powerful question, and health is the key. In the absence of health, the power of sacrifice is empty of meaning. Sacrifice is not a transaction. Sacrifice is transformation. And through it, every one of us is changed. There is a bridge made out of flowers in a place called Shelburne Falls, and if you cross it, you become a butterfly. Beliefs that are dead or dormant within us can suddenly spring to wakeful life. Do you believe in such bridges made out of flowers? I'm going to share a story with you by David Wilcox. I've shared it before, I'm sure I'll share it again. David is an artist, a musician, and a guitarist, and a theologian, and this is his story. I don't know how long it had been since these neighbors had even talked to one another. I think it had been 2 years, maybe. And it all started over the dumbest thing. There was just this stray cat. And I mean, one of them thought it was theirs, and then it went over to the other porch over there, and the other farmer took it in. And each of them thought it was their cat. And every time they'd start to talk about it, they'd just start arguing about the cat until they just quit talking. So when the traveler came through looking for work, one farmer said, "Will you see that other house over there? You say you're a carpenter? That house belongs to my darn neighbor. And he dug a creek to separate our properties. And if he's going to try to divide us in that way, I'd just as soon finish the job. I want a fence. I want a fence that goes all the way across. I don't want to even have to look at him. Can you do that?" And the carpenter said, "Well, yeah, I could do that. It would take a whole lot more wood, but I could get started with what you've got in the shed over there, and you could go into town." And so the farmer goes into town, and by the time he comes back, driving up the old rutted road with his old truck full of that lumber, he looks out into the field where his new fence ought to be, and the carpenter has built a bridge out of his wood onto his land. And here comes his neighbor walking across this bridge onto his land, his hand outstretched, a big old stupid smile on his face. And he comes right up to his truck and he says to his neighbor, he says, "You're a brave man. I didn't even think you'd want to hear the sound of my voice again. I just feel like such a fool. Can you forgive me?" And the farmer finds himself saying, "Oh, hell, I knew that was your cat." A change had happened. There's a bridge made out of flowers in a place called Shelburne Falls, and if you cross it, you become a butterfly. You shed whatever chrysalis you carry. You learn at a moment's notice to unfold your many-colored wings, and for the first time, you step out on into the open air. There's a bridge made out of flowers in a place called Shelburne Falls, flowers that are the same color as heaven, the same color as water, flowers that are the same color as blood and stone and fire. And if you cross this bridge, you become a butterfly. It may seem unlikely or fanciful to serious people. It might even seem impossible to them. But there really is such a bridge made out of flowers in Shelburne Falls in Massachusetts, about 100 miles from where we are right now. It's an amazing thing in spring and summer when the flowers are blooming all over the place in red and yellow and green and brown and scarlet and black and ochre and peach and ruby and olive and violet and fawn and lilac and gold and chocolate and mauve and cream and crimson and silver and rose and azure and lemon and russet and gray and purple and white and pink and orange and blue. All of the colors of Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat. Do you know the biblical story of Joseph and his 11 brothers? Joseph was his father's favorite son. And begrudgingly, most begrudgingly, the other sons all acknowledged this. They did this, they did much more than acknowledge it, actually. They took action. The poetry describing this story reveals that way, way back many centuries ago, not long after the Bible began, Jacob lived in a land of Canaan, and he was a fine example of a family man. Jacob was the founder of a whole new nation thanks to the number of children he had. He was also known as Israel, but most of the time his sons and his wife used to call him Dad. Reuben was the eldest of the children of Israel, with Simeon and Levi next in line, Naphtali and Issachar, with Asher and Dan. Zebulun and Gad took the total to 9. There was also Benjamin and Judah, which leaves only one, Joseph, Jacob's favorite son. Jacob had been partial to Joseph's mother. She had been his favorite wife, most dear to him. So Joseph was his favorite son because he reminded him of her. It wasn't anything that had to do with Joseph, but the brothers didn't care about that. They were jealous. And they said, being told we're also Rans does not make us Joseph fans. Do you know what an also Ran is? Right? There's first prize, second prize, third prize, and then the also Rans in horse racing, right? So everybody who came up fourth or worst was I didn't know what that term meant. I had to look it up. We sang these words when we were children, but we never knew what we were saying. And also ran as a loser in a race, especially by a large margin. That can't feel good between brothers. So they plotted and they conspired against their own brother. They sent him out and they sent him away. At the last minute, they came upon an idea and they sold their brother, their father's favorite son, into slavery. It's pretty bad. Joseph was laid low. What his brothers did nearly broke him. Joseph was laid low, but he did not give up. He found a way to stand on a bridge between freedom and imprisonment, and then he made the most important decision of his life. Now that may seem unlikely and fanciful to the serious people. It might seem even impossible to them, and maybe it is. But truth be told, impossible things happen all the time. Miracles are actually commonplace. In a book that is called A Course in miracles, there are 50 principles enumerated in chapter 1. The first 6 principles are these. Principle 1, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. Principle 2, miracles do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source. Principle 3, miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. All miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. This voice will direct you very specifically. Principle 5, miracles are habits and should be involuntary. I like that one. Principle 6, miracles are natural. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong. So Peter Mayer was right when he sang his song, when he sang, when I was in Sunday school and we would learn about the time that Moses split the sea in two and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track because everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so tough, not so small. But an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. Miracles happen. That's the takeaway. They really happen. And we tend to take notice of the big ones. And the big ones can be rare. Peter Story, an old friend of mine, an old acquaintance of mine, he told me a story about a big miracle that happened in his life. Peter is a South African Methodist minister. And we met as colleagues at Duke University in probably 2000, 2001. He was teaching in the divinity school. He was teaching divinity school students, and I was teaching Duke undergraduates and running a place called the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture. Peter is a former president of the Methodist Church of South Africa and president of the South African Council of Churches, and he was Ruth W. and A. Morris Williams Distinguished Professor Emeritus of the Practice of Christian Ministry at Duke University. Don't you love these titles? Would not fit on a card. So according to the website, Peter is, his 4-year ministry in South Africa was defined by sustained opposition to the infamous apartheid government and its oppressive racist policies. First in Cape Town during the forced removals of people of color, and then as a chaplain to Nelson Mandela and other prisoners on Robben Island. Robben Island is a maximum security prison located 5 miles off the coast of Cape Town, South Africa. It's known around the world for the fact that it held Nelson Mandela for 18 of his 27 years in prison. Peter Story was a young chaplain on Robben Island at this time, and he told me the story about his chaplaincy, a story about a test of his faith, a story about how nervous he was when he sat in the prison cell of the one we call Nelson Mandela. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. It's been 25 years. Awestruck and inexperienced and at a loss for words, Peter asked Nelson the only question he could imagine asking. Nelson Mandela, what does it feel like to be in prison? And Nelson Mandela rose to his feet and pointed out of his cell window and gestured at the world beyond its bars, the world that we presume is free. And he said, ask them what it feels like to be in prison. Ask those who put me here. They are the ones who are imprisoned. Miraculously, even inside of the cell, Nelson Mandela was still free. That's a big miracle. We tend to take notice of the big ones, but there are lots of little miracles leading up to it. Little miracles that make the big miracles possible. Little habitual miracles. Little involuntary miracles. I wonder if Brother Joseph felt the same way that Nelson Mandela did. Joseph, his father's favorite son, after his jealous brothers, Reuben, Simeon and Levi, Naphtali and Issachar, Asher and Dan, Zebulun and Gad, Benjamin and Judah conspired against him, betrayed him, and sold him into slavery. Surely not at first was Joseph okay. It takes a long time to adjust to such a tragedy. It takes a long time to stand on a bridge between freedom and imprisonment and make the most important decision of your life. Surely at first, Joseph was deeply depressed, and he sang a song to himself, "Close every door to me, hide all the world from me, bar all my windows and shut out the light. Do what you want with me, hate me and laugh at me, darken my daytime and torture my night. If my life were important, I would ask if I would live or die. But I know that the answers lie far from this world." As soon as Joseph could, he started planning his escape. He made himself a model prisoner, and before long he had won the favor of Pharaoh. And before long he was working side by side with Pharaoh, helping to lead Egypt through a crisis, a terrible crisis, a famine that was confronting them. Now the famine that was affecting Egypt was also affecting Canaan. Where Joseph and his family came from. The difference being that Egypt was preparing for the crisis and Canaan was not. So Canaan was blindsided and his family was imperiled. In desperation, the 11 sons made their way to Egypt to bring food back for their aging father. Egypt, the land to which they had sown their brother into slavery. And most ironically, they soon found themselves pleading for food before their brother Joseph. For Joseph had been charged by Pharaoh to see to the needs of the hungry and the poor. Now the craziest thing was that none of the brothers recognized Joseph. Too much time had passed, and they thought he was gone. So Joseph decided to play a trick on them. After reacting with apprehension and suspecting them of being spies, Joseph granted their honest request, and he hands out sacks of foods enough to satisfy their hunger. Unseen, however, Joseph placed an elaborate chalice into the sacks of food that he delivered into the hands of his youngest brother, Benjamin. And as they were leaving in gratitude, Joseph accused them of a crime. "Stop," he said, "your little number's up. One of you has stolen my precious golden cup." And he started searching through the sacks, trying to find this thief, and in the process, the youngest brother, falsely framed, was found out. And Jesus condemns him. He moves to imprison him. And then each of the brothers fell to their knees and asked for mercy for their youngest brother. "He would not do this," they said. "He must have been framed, jail us, and beat us. We should be blamed." It must have been pleasing for Joseph to see his brothers being so compassionate, to see them now ready to sacrifice themselves rather than to see their youngest brother imprisoned, locked up, thrown away. And Joseph knew by this his brothers now were honest men. The time had come at last to reunite them all again. "Can't you recognize my face?" he said. "Is it hard to see that Joseph, who you thought was dead, your brother, is me?" And Joseph chose to stand on the bridge between freedom and imprisonment twice. The first time to escape the physical bonds of slavery in Egypt, and the second time to escape the emotional bonds of having been betrayed by his own brothers, his brothers who abandoned him in childhood and left him for dead. What must it have been like for Joseph to stand on that bridge twice and to make the most important decision that sustains his life? What must it have been like for Nelson Mandela to choose to stand on that bridge and to make decisions that best sustained him over the course of 27 years? It's miraculous, and we can begin to respond to these questions with the language of the miraculous by making use of that fifth principle in the Course of Miracles, the one that reads, "Miracles are habits and should be involuntary." Surely Nelson's ego could not have sustained him for 27 years. This was one of the most fascinating things because it speaks to the precondition of the soul. If Joseph wasn't already ready to receive forgiveness, he would never have been able to forgive his brothers for their collective wrongs. Likewise, if Nelson Mandela wasn't already ready to forgive his less favored brothers. He would never have been able to do what he did when that terrible moment came to pass. Joseph's brothers had lied to their father about his favored son. They had lied to everyone around them, and they lied to themselves. I'm sure that they would have been glad to behave correctly if they were in church. I'm sure that they would blithely recite the Beatitudes if they were publicly called upon to do so, singing them without ever taking them seriously. This is why we need fire. This is why we need to understand the divisions in our world, be they a creek or a fence or a prisoning in the heart. We need to understand the kind of fire and the kind of division that Jesus talks about. A kind of division that, not the kind of division that apartheid policies and practices impose, and not the kind of decision that post-apartheid proposals imply in the present. When the 11 brothers betrayed Joseph, they were certainly throwing fire, but it was not the fire that is holy and sacred in the world. How can we tell the difference between these two types of fire? When the 11 brothers betrayed Joseph, they were certainly bringing division, but it was not the kind of division that serves us and creates a positive outcome. When we are broken from one another and broken from ourselves, we are easy prey to our anxieties. We embrace its stories when those stories benefit us, and we reject its stories when they do not benefit us. In safe circles, we may roll our eyes and talk about how terrible things are getting. We may seek what supports we need, and we may bolster our defenses. All the while, we will not build a bridge made out of flowers. In unsafe circles, we may fight or lash out harshly, or we may do as little as we possibly can to not call attention to ourselves. All the while, we throw no healing fire like Jesus did. The healing fires of Jesus were not meant to burn down bridges, but rather to build them up. To build them up with wisdom. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, with wisdom pass through the fire of thought. I believe that Jesus was talking about fire in this sense, in this Emersonian sense, as wisdom passed through the fire of thought. This is the sense in which fire is helpful, hopeful, healing, and wholly transformational in our lives. If we practice the minor miracles that prepare the way for the major ones, if we remember that miracles are habitual, they are not rare, but commonplace. They are everywhere around us, gently singing the changes that we need. They are prepared to make the private sacrifice to benefit the public interest and the common good. Like dearest loves, they gather near to us in times of trouble. We could learn to treat the common practice of miracles with dearest love. That would be a beginning that lets the poetry make much more sense. So when you're weary and feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. When times get rough and you need and friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down. The music suggests that we become small miracles in life, small miracles that burn with a fire that is helpful, hopeful, healing, and transformational. There's a bridge made out of flowers in a place called Shelburne Falls, and if you cross it, you become a butterfly. You shed whatever chrysalis you carry. You learn to unfold your many color wings, and for the first time, you step on out into the open air. Be careful with the reins today. You're going to have to learn to stick the landing. But I hope that you all enjoy your flights today. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.